الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله.
نون والقلم وما يسطرون.
Noon, by the pen, and that which they write there.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. I'm very sorry that the show is starting so late today. I'm like the worst person at organizing my my stuff at the moment, but inshallah I'll improve. But yeah, so a bit late, but today hoping to have a really good show. I hope it's not too late for everyone. We'll still do the normal time, but obviously a bit late. Let me just check who's with me now in the stream. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I pray everyone is good, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, I've been weathering the cold in the UK at the moment. It's been a blizzard of cold weather and snow. We have like 5 inches at the moment. So as brother Hussein says, I've been hibernating, kind of just sleeping and resting. But today it's actually a good time to do a show like this because people actually have been talking about how they are prepared for this cold. In the last few days in the UK and in different parts of the world, it's been snowing quite a lot. Some people have been snowed in. Some people have been off work. And a few people, I've heard people talking about, buying food. Some people bought food before the blizzard and have, food prepared and certain things ready that they may need during the week. And it's just very interesting to me that, people can be so, how can I say, forthright in their thinking to think ahead like that. And there is actually a group of people that do this on a larger scale in terms of preparing for certain events that may happen in our lifetime.
As Dan just alluded to, though, it's not just traditional computers that we need to worry about. There are many other kinds of systems as well. The slide that's been omitted showed a result of the researchers at UCSD and the University of Washington hacking into the dashboard display of a typical American sedan.
So yeah, these people that do this are called preppers. And so, the topic of this show really is going to be a message and a question kind of regarding to preppers. And I hope that, this kind of gets people to think about prepping and what it is, and thinking about preparing in an Islamic way and preparing for the right events that are going to happen. So the topic for today is, as you can see, 2 preppers worldwide. Are you sure you are prepping for the right events to come? How can you be prepared in the right way if your knowledge about the things to come is lacking? All right. And I'm going to talk about this. I just want to check quickly that we are streaming correctly. So give me a second. YouTube. Okay, so looks like everything is fine. Yep. All right. So yeah, inshallah, we have a few guests lined up that will kind of join me in talking about this later on today. And we'll have a discussion about this and topics to do with this. But as I said, the topic is to preppers worldwide. Are you sure you are prepping for the right events to come? Now, the world we are living in today is a very, I can say, uncertain world. Even for people who are the least insightful and who are not really deep thinkers, even people like this can be, of the opinion that we live in a world of certain degrees of uncertainty. And when you get to the deeper thinkers and those who are very observative, they realize that we're living in exceptional times. You know, big changes on all levels around us are taking place in terms of our social dynamics, our geopolitics, you know, even down to natural things like major weather changes. You know, and to a degree, a lot of this is down to the will of Allah. But a lot of this is also down to the incompetence of man, the mistakes of man, and the ill intentions of man. You know, we can say, you know, I was talking to a brother yesterday. You know, alhamdulillah, he's a Muslim brother. I pray that Allah guides him. And he was saying to me that, you know, he was just thinking to himself that, you know, there's no way that we're not in the end times because of the things that are happening in our world, you know. And it's amazing that so many different people from different religions and races and backgrounds are coming to this same conclusion, because people have never seen this in our lifetime. And when we look back at the things that happened in the past, it's hard for us to find another time where things have been like this. You know, we've had times where we've been economically unsure before. You know, we've had times where we've been politically unsure before. But what's happening now is very different. A lot of these things are combining and happening at the same time. And they're happening in a way that's causing people to think. You know, morality is changed. People have been desensitized to different things going on in the world. And it really feels like something could happen that could really shock, you know, the current status that we live in. Because it's a very confusing time for people. Because if you look at now what's happening, for certain people, life is very comfortable. We have very strong infrastructure in areas in the West. You know, we have very strong roads. We have good transport. People have warm houses. You know, you can go out there, you can get credit, and people can live very comfortably. But at the same time, in different areas of the world, the opposite is true. And even in these areas where it's very comfortable, you know, it's very clear to people that a small number of things or a large number of things could really knock things out of balance, you know, and the comfortable world that we're living in could come to an end. You know, it's a very fragile situation. And, you know, many people are worried and are feeling an urge that they should start preparing for what might come. So just for an example, among the community of people who are preparing for disasters or political unrest, you know, they're preparing for certain things that, you know, they have, how can I say, you know, they have foreseen that may happen. For example, North Korea and World War III. You know, so people like this, they're called preppers, and they are preparing for what might happen if World War III breaks out, right? So they are collecting food, they are preparing water, shelter, and you know, a lot of this is going to benefit them if something like that happened, right? If a war broke out and, for example, an area near you was hit and your electricity grid went down, you know, the police weren't there to help you because of certain things going on. If you had food, shelter, and, you know, a way to defend yourself, you may survive certain levels of the political unrest that may go on for a certain amount of time, right? But I mean, the question of, are you sure you're preparing for the right events to come, is really going to be us examining the prepper mindset against the things that we know based on the knowledge that Imam Mahdi, Nasser Mohamed has given us are going to take place. So, you know, alhamdulillah that we have the Imam Mahdi that has come to us and given us this knowledge. You know, and we pray that more people kind of understand and start to see the truth of the things he has been sharing with the people. But a lot of people are unaware of this knowledge, you know, and I think tonight's show is going to really highlight how important it is to kind of take on that knowledge, you know. And before, we've talked about why it's important for people to listen to the Mahdi and heed the warnings that he's given. But today we're going to talk to even the people who are prepared for certain things that may happen. Even they can benefit immensely, you know, from heeding the warnings of the Mahdi, from turning to Allah and taking the Quran as a judge for what is right and wrong. Right? And you know, this is very important because there are certain degrees, you know, if you don't know what's going to happen, even if you have prepared, you know, 5 years of food, you have a shelter, you have a bunker, if you don't have Allah, you know, backing you and supporting you, and if you are not good with Allah, if you are not obeying His word, in the end, none of your prepping is going to benefit you in the long run, in the ways that really matter. And we'll dive more into depth on what I mean about this, you know, later in the show, because I have a few videos to play. The first one is a man who is a prepper, and he's talking about what he feels people's reaction is going to be to the things that are going to happen, right? And unfortunately, there's a lot of disinformation out there and confusion, you know. But, you know, alhamdulillah, those awake enough to see what's going on. For instance, the kind of person who will investigate 9/11 and has come to the conclusion that the official version of what we've been told doesn't stand right. Right? These are people who are open-minded enough to not just, and independent enough to not just take what they've been told as fact, right? These are people who, when they see the building falling at free fall speed, right? The two towers fell down in 8 point something seconds, right? When they see this happen, they know that a normal building falling down because of an impact and fire cannot fall at this kind of speed, right? So they investigate. They start asking questions. You know, and when they do that, they start to see that things don't really add up. And then they start to see how the society that they live in has failed them because a large number of people are not open-minded enough or not independent enough in their thinking to see through lies and deceit when it's very clear that they're being lied and deceived to. Right? Now, this is groupthink. It's a phenomenon where, you know, if the group is going a certain way, certain people will submit to the group. Now, someone who submits to Allah is not going to do this. But, you know, there are also people who can see this groupthink happening and they realize that it's very dangerous living in a situation where this is happening. You know, living in a society where a large number of people can be deceived so easily is very scary. And a large number of these people become preppers, you know, after they come to this conclusion that, you know, they've been lied to, you know, they realize the dangers and the people with ill intentions in the highest levels of government. And they also realize how, you know, how easily the people around them in society can be deceived into following the evil people. All right. So a lot of these people, they start prepping. You know, they either start prepping or they start, you know, they change their lifestyle. And now the question is, you know, to preppers, you know, are you really prepared for what's to come? You know, did you really take the proper precautions and the measures to allow you to be adequately prepared, right? And how can you expect someone to be well prepared with the amount of food and water and so forth, you know, in a time where our political leaders are lying to us and not telling us to be prepared? You know, for the person who, you know, understands what's going on, who has come to the conclusion that things are not what they seem, how can we expect this person to be prepared when they don't know what they're preparing for, right? You know, and so really the public is in darkness, man. The public is in darkness right now, and it really does take independent thinkers to kind of cut through all of the nonsense and understand what's to come. And even then, it's very hard. You know, in my opinion, the material prepping is important. You know, it is beneficial for you to, you know, collect food, to collect water, you know, to provide a means for your family to maybe be self-sustainable in a way. But the most important form of this, of preparing, is spiritual. You know, preparing by building your spiritual relationship with God, preparing by making dua, by doing dhikr, and by praying to Allah, reading Quran, and really understanding what Allah wants from you, and how you can practice your religion if society falls. You know, how you can just rely on Allah in the best way possible and trust in Him to see you through anything that may happen. So we'll come back to this. For now, I'm going to play a video about a man who is prepping. And in his opinion, he believes that 90% of people will take the chip. So now you can already see that this is a man who is prepping, but he is seeing through a lot of what is going on. And he believes that the mark of the beast, the chip that people have said is a possibility, is going to, you know, is going to be something that is used to oppress the people. So very independent thinker. Let's check out the video and see what you think afterwards.
Hey everybody, Prepper Nurse 1 here. Today is Thursday, February 8th, 2018. As you can see, we're starting to get a little bit of snow here. I came home this morning and I cleaned off the solar panels. And actually we're going to run in here real quick. And we're going to take a look at something. Okay, we are still bringing in power. Between the two units, we've brought in 1.8 kilowatt hours today. And the batteries are actually at 100% as we speak. So we actually did bring in decent power so far today. Especially on a day when you can see that we're not like getting a whole lot of sunshine here. And it is lightly snowing at the moment. Okay, so we're going to go into this video. I wanted to talk about yesterday I put up a video about we'll get on the bus when FEMA comes around for roundups. It was pretty much a resounding no. Okay? So we're going to play a little game and I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. What if I told you that 90% of the people that commented on yesterday's video and said, absolutely not, I'm not going, I'll shoot them first, blah, 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 blah. What if I told you that 90% of you will willingly go to FEMA camps, if they have FEMA camps, lay your guns down, and beg for help? What if I told you that? You'll say, Prepper Nurse 1, you're crazy, we're not doing that. Alright, we're going to play the devil's advocate here for a minute, and I'm the government. I'm not going to waste the resources of rounding up people. Not going to do it. It's a waste of time and energy. You're going to have people that are going to fight and say, no, I'm not going, whatever, okay? So I'm not going to waste my time doing that. Now, who will they round up? Let's be realistic. Let's see who will. We're going to go around on this subject a minute. If I'm the government, people that I'm going to round up are the troublemakers. Preppers are really not troublemakers, guys. We're just people that get ready, okay? So we're not really considered troublemakers. The troublemakers are your Antifa groups, your Black Lives Matter groups, the people that are like super anti-government and looking to cause trouble, okay? The ones that are trying to organize these rallies to protest the government because the government is so horrible and all this type of stuff. Those are the people they're going to go after, all right? They're not going after the average Joe citizen, all right? Now, that being said, why are you going to willingly walk in, lay your guns down, and give up? Why are you going to do that? Because if I'm the government, I'm going to control things. And basically the government is going to be more concerned about controlling the big cities and, larger towns and stuff like that. So they're not going to worry about, everybody else, okay? What they're going to do is they're going to starve you out, okay? If I'm the government, I stop the trucks from running, I stop the food supplies, I stop, like I said, fresh water that can be easily cut off as well. So now, how long can you hold out with no food, no fresh water, and stuff like that, okay? How long can you hold out? Eventually, you're going to run out of food. Eventually, you're not going to be able to do those things that you want to normally do. If you really realize how much day to day that all of us rely on the grid, rely on society, if you will, even if we try to be separate from it, okay? But the thing is, if it comes right down to it at the end of the day, if they cut off that food and they cut off, and that realistically, that's all they got to do is cut off the food. You stop the trucks from running, and eventually you're going to starve people out. And people are going to come down, and they're going to willingly give up their weapons for help, for food. People are going to do it. It is not a matter of if they'll do it, it's a matter of when and how long it would take. So the government doesn't have to waste the resources or the manpower trying to hunt all of you down. Now that's being more paranoid, okay? I'm not a paranoid person. I don't think, I don't trust the government, don't get me wrong. But I also am of the mindset is, I am a small fry. Yeah, I make YouTube videos and I talk about prepping and living off grid and how you should be ready and try to be as self-sufficient as you possibly can be. And, that is very, very important, in my opinion, okay? Because you need to rely on yourself, not on them. If they stop the trucks from running tomorrow, there's no more trucks going to the grocery stores. Those grocery stores are going to get cleaned out in a heartbeat, and then there's going to be nothing. Look what the government down in Venezuela is doing. That's how you control the people, folks. You control them with food, okay? If you are not prepared for a long period of time and then basically have enough time to get your gardens going, get your livestock, making sure that they're breeding and you're getting, eggs and meat and all those type of things, and hunting or whatever, however you need to do it, okay? But the majority of people will become gatherers, all right? So if you have no concept of what to do, what to look for, what's edible plants, what's not edible plants, if you're not ready for winter time and have enough food on hand to feed you, your family, or your group, people are going to quit. They're going to be like, you know what? They're offering help, because that's what I would do. I would have over the radio and telecommunications all the time. Come in, we'll help you. If you're starving, we'll help you. And guess what, folks? Willingly, 90% of you that yesterday said, no way, I'm not going, 90% of you, if you are hungry enough and if you have not prepared enough and don't have enough food on hand to keep you going until you can be more self-sustaining, you're going to willingly walk in there, you're going to lay your weapons down, and you're going to say, help me. That is the reality. I mean, I'm a very realistic person, okay? So that is the reality. They're not going to waste time with us. They're not going to come hunting us down. I think that is a fantasy that a lot of people have, or they think. I really don't believe that to be the case, because they realize, meaning the government, that a lot of people will fight back, which means they'll have to kill people, and that other people, they're going to lose resources, they're going to lose manpower, and they don't want to do that. So starving you out is the best way to go. Absolutely the best way to go, because eventually, like I said, you will come in. People don't realize how reliant we are on this system. And so, so you'll say to me, well, what about you, Prepper Nurse One? Are you going to come in? I honestly have no intention of going in. I am working diligently on trying to make this property as self-sufficient as I possibly can. I do have a lot more plans, like I said, this year, as far as we're adding chickens this year. I do plan on hopefully getting a greenhouse in this year. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'm going to expand the gardens for sure this year. I mean, I have plans to try to become more self-sufficient as I possibly can be. But the thing is, it's like, at some point, there has to be something that gives. And you have to be as ready as you possibly can be. That's the reality. If you don't have those resources, like, okay, here's a good example. Fall's a great time of year. All the fruits are coming into fruition. Your trees are probably loaded with apple. Like up here in the Northeast, we're like, cherry trees, apple trees, pear trees, even peach trees, okay? You're going to get your fruit, okay? So you're like, oh my God, I got all this stuff, so you're going to load up. Well, if you don't have the resources to be able to store that fruit throughout the course of the winter, either with canning or underground storage in a cold, like a cold room and stuff like that, that's only going to last so long. You're going to eat great for a while that fruit's coming in, but then it's going to all be gone. So if you don't have canning supplies and know how to can and do those type of things, you're going to be in big trouble. So, that's just one example. There's so many examples that I could give as far as, what you're going to need to have to be able to survive if that comes down to that point. But, the government is not stupid, guys. They are very, very intelligent. They're very, very manipulative, okay? And they want to stay in control. They do not want to lose that power. So like I said, the best way to control the masses is starvation. And, and yes, and here's the thing. Will some of you choose starvation and death over going in? Yep, some of you will. But like I said, and I'm not saying this to be dismissive of your thought process, okay? I'm not saying that but most of you will willingly walk in, turn in your weapons, and say, help me. Now, the thing is, how do we stop that from happening? Well, you get ready, Here's the thing is, like, now I have the link and I put it in every one of my videos for Legacy Foods, okay? It's a long-term food storage, 25-year plus shelf life, and it's something that could actually very easily be put in caches where you bury them someplace, and they're going to be good for a long, long, long time. Like I said, all you got to do is add water, and you got a good meal. The largest proportion size of anybody else, and right now they're actually running a special, and so you can actually get, I think it's 20% off right now with Legacy if you go in there, and I'll put the information and the link into in the comment or in the description so that you guys can see that. If you're interested in doing that, that is a great way to store up food. Doesn't take up a lot of space, doesn't take up a lot of weight, okay? And it's absolutely best way to do it, in my opinion, as far as long-term food storage, because it has a 25-year shelf life. I mean, that's going to be very, very good to have. So that's one way. Get your beans, your rice, all those type of things.
All right, so we just saw this video of this guy, and the main gist of what he was saying was that the majority of people are not going to have the right resources to keep themselves self-sustainable enough, and that they're going to become so desperate that they're actually going to go and hand themselves in to the enemy. Now, as you can see, he was making a lot of presumptions in this video, and presumptions that many people make. And why is this? Well, from the information that the public has, and as I said, there's a lot of disinformation, there's a lot of correct information. But, if you come from a Christian background, or if you come from a religious background, even if you're not religious and you understand the shadow government's motives, there seems to be an idea that basically people are going to be rounded up, martial law is going to be declared, and if you want support from the government, then you're going to have to submit to them and take the chip. Now, what is the chip? Well, the chip is basically the monetary system of the one world order. People believe that this chip is going to need to be taken in order for you to, to buy or sell. As we know, the Bible talks about the mark of the beast, and many people interpret this chip as the mark of the beast. Okay. Now, a lot of information and a lot of what the guy said was speculative, right? You know, he said that, you know, the government's not going to come in and get you. You know, he said, you know, they're just going to leave you. You need your own food. But it's very interesting because from the knowledge that Imam Mahdi has shared with the people, we know that the powers that be are going to start, or they intend to start a war and destroy the infrastructure and the systems of the people. You know, they want to put the human being in a situation where he is desperate and degraded, and where this level of comfort in his life is no more. You know, and once they have destroyed the current system, the goal is to replace it with a new world order system, where, you know, one entity, one government controls the majority of people around the world. Right. Now we know from the information that the Imam Mahdi gave us that this isn't even what is actually going to be the main, you know, how can I say, problem for the human being in this time. The main problem for us is going to be the chastisement of Allah. Okay? You know, someone like this who is talking about the government is missing the ball completely, right? Because he doesn't even understand that what is really happening is, you know, celestial in proportion, is the will of Allah. Because we know that as the crossing of planet X happens, you know, the government is going to be the least of your problems. Because now Yajuj and Majuj is going to be released, and Dajjal is going to be on the earth, and he is going to be the main one in control. You know, even if you don't see him right away, the one who is in control of the government now goes from the shadow government to Dajjal himself. And we know that their intention is to deceive man by coming as if they are the enemy of the government. You know, they're going to come down in their UFOs from the hollow earth when Yajuj and Majuj are released. And they're going to come out and they're going to say, you know, to the people that we will aid you. We will support you. We have a system. We are taking control of the government. We will make it easy for you. We have a beautiful Garden of Eden, you know. We have a beautiful place inside the earth where you can come and stay with us. And the alternative is hell, right? And so Planet X is going to be in the sky. It's going to be crossing past the earth and causing destruction and destroying the oppressors. Allah is going to use Planet X as a vehicle to destroy those who have been causing corruption in the land, on the earth, and who have been going against His word. But those of us who are left are going to be in a desperate situation, you know. And me myself, you know, I fear not the government, but I fear the chastisement of Allah. I pray to Allah that He makes me strong enough, you know, to be patient, you know, and to be strong, and to, you know, be self-sufficient in this time, to be able to look after myself, my family, and, you know, those of the believers around me, you know. And so when something like this happens, and Dajjal is coming out and deceiving the people and telling them that Planet X, the planet of chastisement, is his hell. And when he is telling them that the Garden of Eden inside the hollow earth is his heaven, you know, and that he is Jesus and that he created us, people's mindset is completely different. You notice at the end of the video, this guy just said, I don't intend to go and get support from the government, right? And he didn't say that it will never happen. You know, he says, you know, he's pretty much saying that if I can look after myself, I won't. If I can't, then I have to. But it's important that we understand that that's not an option, because if you go and you take support from the people who are giving the support, the people who are telling you to come and take, you know, this mark, you are going and you are shaking and making a deal with Satan himself. You know, you are saying, I trust in Satan, not God. Even though Dajjal will say that he is God. And really and truly, I have to explain now that from what the Imam Mahdi has told us, we know that the mark of the beast will be a sign of the crossing of the planet X. You know, it will be a cross, you know. So Dajjal is going to try and force the people to submit to him. And he is going to tell them that if you do not, my hell, you know, the liar is going to say that hell will destroy them. He will put you in hell, which is not his hell. It is, you know, it is Allah's. So it's really important that we understand that it's not an option. No matter how desperate we get, submitting to this and saying, yes, you know, I want food, you know, I want water, I want to be able to buy and sell. I want to go and live with the people who are living fine and comfortably. You know, that's signing your soul away to Shaitan, you know. You know, and unfortunately, a large number of people will buy into this because, like I said before, right, we are so comfortable right now. We have our cars, we have our food, we have our easy access to food around the world. You know, I can go to the supermarket now. I can buy 6 months worth of food. You know, I can eat well. We are overindulging ourselves. When this comfort is snatched away from us, and then, you know, a man who comes down and a people who come down with technology, and they are building an infrastructure, they are living comfortably, you know, they're going to be living more comfortably than we are living now. Only Allah knows the exact, you know, things that are going to happen, but it's going to be a split between people who accept the mark and say, yes, I will submit to Dajjal and I'm going to live comfortably. You know, they're going to have the comforts that we have now. They're going to have a house to live in. They're going to have running water. They're going to have the simple things, you know, food, abundance of food, abundance of you know, a social system. The people who do not accept them and do not accept the Dajjal and do not take this mark, you will not be able to have access to the abundance of resources that the Dajjal and his people are going to bring. So you have to fend for yourself on the surface of the earth. And once you're fending for yourself, we can only pray that Allah supports us, because it's only going to come from Allah. You know, inshallah, you know, we really need to work together to build a system and provide for each other to make it easier for us, you know, to stay strong and to, you know, stay on the straight path. Because you can bet Dajjal is going to make it very easy for you to follow him. It's going to be very easy. He's not going to come, he's not going to force you. He's going to say, listen, you can have whatever you want. You can come and you can eat and you can have it easy. You just have to take this mark and you just have to bow down to me. And it's going to be very easy to do that. You know, what's going to be hard is to stick to the truth, you know. And Allah even says, you know, do you think, you know, that you will be able to believe without being tested, you know? So we should really be scared of Allah. We should be scared and we should be praying to Allah to give us the strength to prove to him that we are of the most faithful. Because I swear to you, it's only the most faithful, the people with the most iman and with strong conviction and love for Allah in the heart, that are going to be able to do this, you know? If you're feeling sorry for yourself, and if you're feeling sorry when, you know, you don't know what to do, and you're questioning what to do, you just need to go and bow to Allah and pray to him for support, because it's going to be very hard. From what we know, from the information that Mahdi has given us, it is possible that there's going to be around 6 months to 1 year of a very desperate situation of, you know, of hardship, basically. You know, so during this hardship, you will probably need to fend for yourself and get your own food. You won't be able to go to the shop, you know. You may have to hunt, you may have to plant food, you know. Who knows where you're living, if there has been any type of destruction, you know. Who knows if people will be rioting, you know. Who knows what the situation will be. I mean, we can look at places like Venezuela, as the guy mentioned, what's going on now there. And what's happened, you know, society has split, and a lot of people have turned to crime to support themselves and their families. And a lot of people have, you know, been reliant on the government and the food banks that the government is giving. So I mean, if you are among the people who are not going to submit to Dajjal, which none of us are. We are all going to be, but you know, I pray none of us are. I pray that we're all believers, and then we are all, you know, faithful and consistent in our belief and strong enough. You're really gonna have to fend for yourself, and there's gonna be a number of people, you know, depending on your location. There may be people who are not going to submit to Dajjal, but they are going to oppress others. You know, they are going to steal others' resources, or they're going to, you know, use other people. So you really have to be strong. And as I say, the strongest form of preparation is the spiritual, is your connection with Allah, and Allah will support you in those times. But I really do think people need to start having a serious conversation and seriously thinking about how they are going to, you know, plan for themselves and their families. Because if we look at people of the past, in past generations, they knew how to, you know, collect water for them to drink. They knew how to provide themselves and their families with food, right? They knew how to be self-sustainable to a greater extent than we do. Right now, most of us don't even know how to plant crops, right? If most of us, if we didn't have the system of the government in place for a month, we may starve. You know, we live in areas, in urban areas. We don't have any way, we don't even understand how to hunt, how to prepare food. We don't have the skills that a normal person have. And this is one of the ways that, you know, Satan has really deceived us and destroyed us, because, you know, this level of comfort a year from now or after these events take place could seem like a dream. You could look back on this time that we're living in right now, and you could say, and you could just not believe how easy life was because of how different life would be for you. You know, humanity has become soft, and because of that, a large number of people, unfortunately, are not going to survive, and those who are left are going to be very, very desperate. And that is part of the main deception of Satan, and this is what the Imam Mahdi is going to be, you know, supporting us against. And this is actually what is going to lead to the rise of the Imam Mahdi. When people are in this situation and they're desperate, and the Imam Mahdi comes with clear solutions, you know, and is supporting the people and helping them so much, this is what is going to lead people to understand. Even the disbeliever will understand, you know, that this man, you know, is a good man, is a man that can help all people, no matter what religion, no matter what race. And just to go into more depth about you know, the the prepping mindset, and how preppers need to really take into account the severity and the right information about what's going to happen, and take into account how Allah and God has a role in this. We're going to watch another video, and this is about a man who was talking about how the rich are buying bunkers. Now, many of us know that Planet X is coming. If you don't, please research Planet X. You know, Allah in the Quran talks about his chastisement and how he brings it from time to time to reduce the population of the earth. And so basically, this is a very important topic, because if you don't understand this, you know, it's very easy for you to fall into that kind of deception and to follow the wrong guidance. So I'm going to play the video, and then we'll take some calls, inshallah.
Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So today we're going to talk about the so-called super wealthy millionaire, perhaps even billionaire Silicon Valley preppers who are getting ready for the apocalypse. So let's get to it. Alright, so before we get into this, I just want to show you this. I just made a video on these bad boys. This is the Silky Sugawaza Fixed Blade Full Tang Tree Slayer. And this is my personal favorite. I prefer it much more than the Sugawaza, is the Sugoi. An awesome sheath, an amazing full tang tree slayer. This thing is an absolute beast. It doesn't hold a candle to the Katana Boy 650, mind you, but it's a little bit more affordable, and it can mount on the side of your pack like so. You get an axe on one side, this on the other. Man, this thing is going to absolutely destroy the forest and help you stay warm throughout the winter time. You can get one of those at canadianpreparedness.ca. So I want to first send a shout out to Chris over at City Prepping. He was the one who informed me about this mini documentary that's talking about Silicon Valley tech tycoons who are preparing for the apocalypse. I don't know if they're necessarily the real higher-ups. Apparently there's people in very high places like Peter Thiel, the PayPal guy, and I think there was a CEO of Reddit who claims to have gotten laser eye surgery because contacts and glasses would be in short supply in the apocalypse. And apparently these guys are buying up real estate in New Zealand because they fear some sort of, it seems to be an economic collapse. That seems to be the main disaster that they fear, although there is other ones who talk about nuclear war and the effects of automation on the economy. Now, there's a couple ways to approach this here. I also want to give a shout out to Prepper Logic, who did a video on this a couple months ago, I think, perhaps even longer than that. And he talked about how it was just a fad, that, you know, these guys, just like, you know, you got a new Lamborghini, well, I got to get one too. You know, you got a zombie apocalypse bunker with the state-of-the-art ventilation system, well, I want one too. I'm sure there is something to it. I mean, if you were a millionaire or billionaire, why wouldn't you have, in the very least, a castle keep, so to speak, a panic room, and then, you know, next step would logically be some kind of bunker, especially if you were living on the fault lines of any particular natural disaster region, be it a tornado alley, a hurricane prone region, earthquake prone region. You probably have some sort of contingency plan in place to preserve your family's safety in the case of that. So I think it goes without saying that these guys are taking these measures, and I think they've probably been doing it for a long time, especially if you're in the billionaire class. A bunker is a drop in the bucket. For example, there's a bunker in Las Vegas. It's $1.7 million, and this thing has everything. I mean, it's probably like 10,000 square feet. It has simulated natural lighting. It has dance rooms. It has a sauna. You know, it's got just every possible room you could want. It's basically an underground mansion, and it's only 1.7 million. So to think that billionaires don't have doomsday bunkers is kind of silly, especially when you think about in the 1950s and 60s. This was a going trend that lots of American families had bunkers ready for a Russian attack. So it's quite sensible to think then that a lot of people with money would be prepared for something like this, and they would have other properties offshore. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you have a property offside the US mainland that you're prepping for doomsday necessarily, which was a point that Prepper Logic also made, and I agree with that. There may be a bit of sensationalism to these stories, but at the same time I think there's a little bit of truth. But the thing is this, is that I don't think these guys would ever come out and explicitly state that, because if you were privy to intel about the end of the world as we know it scenarios, I don't think you would be broadcasting that to the rest of the world. I mean, what interest would you have in doing that? You wouldn't be doing that sort of interview for the money. You would have absolutely no interest in telling everybody that, hey, we're all moving to New Zealand because we're preparing for the apocalypse. It doesn't make sense that you would tell people that. If anything, you're doing it in secret. And in one of the videos I'm going to link down below, the owner of a company who makes underground bunkers is talking about how the super rich don't allow him to film in the facilities that he builds for them, which makes perfect sense. So basically that tells me that there's a lot of people who do have these bunkers and aren't broadcasting it. I'm not sure what the motive is for making these news stories about how billionaires are prepping. Perhaps it's just a sensationalist headline to sell ads. I don't know. Maybe that's the case, but I'm sure there's a lot of truth to it at the same
Now, as we can see in that video, he was talking about how their people are buying bunkers, and at the end there, he was saying how one of the the agencies that sells these bunkers, his buyers don't let him film in the bunkers, right? And what we have to understand is certain groups of the shadow government and certain groups of the elite and of Yajuj and Majuj, these hybrid jinns and children of Satan, the Luciferians, they know that Planet X is coming. They know what is about to happen. They have known for a very long time. When I was doing research into Planet X initially, before I found out about the call of the Mahdi, I found a news story that was released, I think, in the 80s by the Times newspaper in New York. And basically they announced that NASA had found Planet X. They found Planet X, and they were going to monitor its orbit, and that they would update this news story once there was more information. Now, not long after this news report came out, it was removed, and they never spoke about it again. They kind of recalled it. I think they said it was a mistake, or they just ignored it, and this was never heard of again. But the important thing that I'm trying to say is that they know that this is happening, and they're trying to protect themselves, and they're leaving the public in the dark. Now, we know, and Allah has told us that, none of this is going to defend, is going to protect them. The people who are the oppressors, who want to go and hide under the ground, or the people who want to go and hide under the ground in their bunkers without a connection with Allah, it's not going to do any benefit for them, But what will benefit you is preparing yourself, and preparing yourself, spiritually and materially, And so this short video is going to talk about how valuable your time is right now. And, if anyone wants to give me a call while this video is playing, please do. And then we'll talk about, the topic, and we'll talk about, in general, the call of the Mahdi.
Question. Question. Are you prepared for nuclear war by April? Did you hear what I said? Nuclear war in the next 60 days? Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it on today's edition of True News.
Okay, that was the wrong video. Just give me a second. I'll put the right video on. But yeah, if anyone would like to give me a call, then please, do give me a call, inshallah.
Question. Are you prepared for nuclear war by April?
Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So I want to thank everybody for helping me make this one of the best years thus far on the Canadian Prepper channel. I've learned more, I've done more, I've been more productive than I've ever been before in my life, and I owe that to my loyal subscribers and fan base, people who support the channel via the bug out roll, buying silky saws from my store, which are the best saws on earth, hands down. Survival Russia just did a great video on that. Go check it out. I'll post a link in the description. Excellent channel. And I want to give you a little piece of advice here, 2018 coming up, because saws, bug out rolls, all of the commercial stuff aside, all of the gear review stuff aside, at my core, I'm still a prepper. What motivates me to do this is the same thing that motivated me to do this when I started the channel, and that was a sense of urgency about needing to ready myself to be independent should all of the things that we take for granted ever fail us. The technology, the systems, the running water, the electricity, the heating system, all of that kind of stuff that we take for granted. That's the reason why I prep to this day, and that's the reason why you should continue to prep in 2018, because it's not going to take much to really push things over the edge in any direction, be it financial collapse, a global conflict, terrorism, ecological collapse, environmental disasters, things of that nature. So you need to stay ready. Don't get complacent just because the birds are chirping outside and all seems that everything is well. And I want to introduce a metric for you today to understand the significance of prepping while the getting's good. Like I said, if you're not taking full advantage of the system as it exists today in order to better yourself financially, physically, psychologically, in terms of your knowledge that you have, in terms of the power and influence that you have, if you're not using everything at your disposal right now, then I don't understand how you can imagine that you're just going to suddenly become that individual which adapts in a crap hits the fan scenario. Now, I want to introduce a principle to you, and it's a metric to understand the importance of prepping, and I'm going to call it the 1 to 100 rule. The principle is such that what takes you an hour to get right now is going to take you 100 hours to get in a grid down scenario, and that applies to everything. That means that if you were to labor for 1 hour, even at minimum wage, maybe let's say you labor for 2 hours, you make $10 an hour, 20 bucks can buy you a 40-pound bag of rice, 62,000 calories for 2 hours of work. Now, imagine how much work it would take to get 62,000 calories in a grid down scenario if you were working the land with non-conventional methods, with no pesticides, with no modern machinery. To get 62,000 calories, it's going to be incredibly hard. It's going to take dozens of hours, possibly 100 hours if you're foraging, if you're hunting. Knowledge acquisition, another prime example. If you were to go back in time even 100 years and you were to tell somebody that in the future people are going to have this device, and this omnipotent device is going to be able to tell you anything just by asking it a question, which right now you can go on Google Voice, ask it a question, this robotic...
Assalamu alaikum, guys. We're back. We have our first guest here, Brother Rafid Saeed. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Peace be upon you, Brother Idris. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, thank you. May peace be upon you too. I'm fine. What do you think of the topic today?
I think this is a very good subject, as people should prepare for this stage.
Right. And I really wanted to ask you, do you think there's any way that we can be saved from the punishment of God?
In truth, there is only one way, and people must first know the truth. And to know the truth, they must read the statements of the awaited Mahdi. Now people feeling there is something about to happen, or even many events are already happening. But the truth is in the statements. And the only way to be saved and survived is by following the straight path. Then they will be saved only by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Yeah, I agree, brother.
But maybe I can add one good point and good news for the listeners, as I think most people now will feel worried and afraid after this information. There will be a safe zone. This area only in Yemen. Maybe some will find it strange now, but in Yemen, because the current events in Yemen, the war. But next stage, inshallah, everything. Yes.
Carry on.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, bro. So, brother,
Yes,
who
go ahead.
who is the awaited Mahdi? And is he a prophet or is he a messenger or is he just a normal Muslim scholar who will be selected by other Muslim scholars? Who is he?
Okay, as the identity of the awaited Mahdi. In true, most people, not only the Muslims, don't know exactly who is the awaited Mahdi, as they think he will be selected by some scholars. But from the Quran, the Holy Quran, we know that the last messenger is the messenger Muhammad, prayers be upon him. So there will be no more prophets or messengers after the messenger Muhammad, prayers be upon him and his family. So the awaited Mahdi will be as a supporter for the messenger Muhammad, prayers be upon him. And by the way, the name of the awaited Mahdi is Nasser, and Nasser means the supporter. So he is the supporter of the messenger.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, and this is very important because obviously a lot of people think that first of all they think the Mahdi won't know himself that he is the Mahdi, and they think that he will be chosen by the people. He think that the people will force him to be the Mahdi.
Yeah. This is from the false narrations and hadith in Sunnah. But we have to know that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is who selected the awaited Mahdi.
Yes, true. So how did he know that he was the Mahdi? Do you know?
From the statement, the awaited Imam Nasser Muhammad al-Yemani told he saw the messenger of Allah Muhammad, prayers be upon him, in the vision, and he told him that he is the awaited Imam. But the vision is not the argument or the evidence for the people to believe and follow just like that. The other point, he told him that he will have the full knowledge of the book, the Holy Quran. And the proof of this vision is in the reality is the true statement of the Holy Quran. And this is what's happening in true.
Yeah, on his website, I've read many of the statements on what he has to say about the Quran. And a lot of people think that his interpretation is correct just because of how factual it is and how when you put it to the test of proof, the test of the Quran or logic, it always seems to be stronger than anything else, right?
It's true, but we have to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is who teach the Mahdi by inspiring him the statements from the Holy Quran.
Yeah. So, is it important for Muslims to believe and follow the awaited Mahdi?
Awaited Mahdi is calling for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and by default, Muslims must follow the straight path, Allah. So it's not like he is a messenger and we have to believe in him. There is no new religion. But if you follow the straight path, by default, you will believe that what in the statement.
Okay, so you're saying that we just have to believe in the truth of the book, and everything he's saying about the book is true. So by default, you'll be believing in, what he is calling for, which is for us to return to the straight path, I guess.
Yes. Even of the statement, the Imam told, not important at this stage for you to believe that I'm the awaited Imam. The main point that you have to follow the statements. When you follow the statements, you are actually following the Holy Quran and the true Sunnah. Then after you will see that I will appear on earth and I will judge in justice. At that time you can believe that I'm the awaited. And this is just make it easy for people to the straight path.
Okay. So what is the degree of the Mahdi in the book? In the book of Allah in the Quran?
Okay. Also, this is not known for most Muslims, as they think that the awaited Mahdi is a normal leader or scholar. The degree of the Imam in true is the highest degree in the book, as he have the highest knowledge, even more than the prophets and the messengers.
Okay. So, being that this is true, would Imam Mahdi fight the people, to receive the rulership? Is he gonna start a war with the people until they believe that he is the Khalifa?
No, in true. What will happen exactly as the call of the messengers before. The Imam is calling the people to Allah, to follow the right path. And the appearance will be by judgment of Allah.
Okay. Okay. So what about non-Muslims? Will he make or ask them to become Muslim, force them to become Muslim?
In true Islam, it does not force people to be Muslims, and the same. The Imam will not force people to believe and follow Islam.
True. Okay, so what about ISIS? Does ISIS represent Islam for?
This is the point. It's not like ISIS, you will be Muslim or we will kill you. This is not true, and this is because they are not following Islam laws.
Okay, so they don't represent Islam. But has he said anything about ISIS? Do we know?
The Imam in true wrote many statements about ISIS, and he proved from the Holy Quran clear verses that they are not following and applying the Islam rules. As for example about the captives in Islam, Allah ordered to set the captives free, not to kill them as what ISIS is doing.
Okay. Yeah. So I have another question, and
Yes.
What is the purpose or the final goal of the Mahdi? What's the point?
Sorry again.
I said, what is the purpose of the Mahdi, and what are his goals?
The final purpose for the await Mahdi, he want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be satisfied and blessed in himself. And this will happen when all the people will follow the straight path and be grateful.
Okay. So, would Allah accept the repentance of all the people? What about Iblis? Would Allah accept the repentance of Satan?
For sure. Even Satan, Lucifer, Iblis himself, as he is one of the saints, Allah will accept his repentance if he repented faithful.
Wow. That really is, as Allah says, He is the most merciful. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Yes.
So, I mean, what is the Armageddon? What is this apocalypse, this Armageddon, and who is going to kill Satan in the end?
This will be the final war between, let's say, the light and the darkness. And this war will be led by the awaited Mahdi, Imam Nasser, Mohamed al-Yemani, inshallah. And the darkness leader will be Satan himself.
Wow. So I guess, do mankind have any chance to survive the passage of Planet X? Is there any safe zone we can go to be protected or be safe?
This is what we said at the first. It's not the subject about safe zones. The only way is by believing and following straight path. Even though in the second video about the bunkers or underground cities, it's not safe at all.
Right, so the only way to be safe is to turn to Allah, right?
Yes, and asking only His mercy, and no one will be saved without His mercy.
But I guess someone may ask, I guess I've been asked this before, why does Allah only accept, Islam and not any other religion? Why can't someone who is, a Christian, why can't they also be protected? Why is it only Islam that someone can turn to Allah and be accepted by Allah?
Okay. In true, the whole religion is Islam. Even Al-Masih, son of Maryam, prayers be upon him, and his mother, was calling for Islam. And same all other prophets and messengers. But what happened after the messenger or the prophet did, they distorted and changed the religion. And so the other religions became to existence. But originally, the religion is only the Islam.
Okay, so what you're saying is that, Islam is the truth, really, and that all religions are coming from Islam. But they've been changed, they're not the same, they're not the truth anymore.
Exactly.
Okay. So really and truly, Islam is the truth from God, and that is why he accepts it. So I guess moving on, what are the miracles of the Dajjal? From what you've read from the Mahdi, does he know anything about what the miracles of Dajjal will be, the Antichrist?
The Antichrist will have no miracles at all. As the miracles only for the likeness, for those who call for Allah, not for the falsehood. But sure, he will use maybe some of the technology to mislead people, but it will not be miracles by Allah.
I see. Okay. So I guess one question I would ask, if Allah is going to resurrect, the Messiah, Isa, if he's going to bring him back, then why would Imam Mahdi, need to be the leader and not the Messiah, Isa?
Okay, this is related to the degree of the awaited Mahdi in the book. As if we return to Surah the Cave, we will find that the messenger of Allah, Moses, followed the right man to learn from him. And same as the awaited Mahdi is the one who have the knowledge in the book, Al-Masih will follow him, and he will be in through the prime minister in the awaited Mahdi.
Okay. Alhamdulillah, that's amazing. Do you have anything to, add?
Let me explain one final point. I remember there was a statement in last September related that the event is going to be bigger and greater, related to the chastisements because of the approaching of the planet. So people really need to prepare. But the only to survive again is only by following the straight path. I would like if you run or play the video. I send you the link just now. About the news from the Holy Quran.
The one about Planet X?
Yes.
Okay, give me a second.
This is NoonStatement.tv. Visit now www.thegreatnews.com.
So, I want to say thank you to our last guest, Rafat Saeed. I think, inshallah, we'll have another guest now. So, I'm going to see if Brother Samir is available to join with us today. Hopefully, he has some insights into this topic. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam, brother. Yes, wa alaikum assalam.
Nice to have you with us on the show.
Are we live on the show?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, hello everybody.
Welcome.
And assalamu alaikum, brother and sister.
Yeah, what do you think about what we just spoke about?
Yeah, I was following the videos that you posted earlier in your show with regards to the readiness and the preparedness that we need really to what people are doing, be it war, be it some disasters such as earthquakes or hurricane or what have you. While people are preparing, and as the brother earlier mentioned also, it has to be first and foremost the spiritual preparedness, which is following the straight path, which our book, the Quran, basically in every prayer we start with Al-Fatiha, which we ask God to show us the straight path. Our Imam Mahdi alayhi salam also had elaborated a lot in the Planet X, for mainly in the Planet X issue. So we should be what we call, I mean, and Imam alayhi salam had given us a lot of information, a bundle of information, to basically understand what's coming. So for people to think about it, who's the Imam, why he would say so, how he's mentioning it, or how did he get this information, so on. So I think first of all we have to answer that question in more details. So basically
thank you, man, because someone actually asked me, yesterday they were asking me, sorry, is your sound on the video on?
I have it muted here. Let me check that again, please. Yep, it's okay. Here we go. Yeah, it's mute.
Okay,
now
awesome.
I had it mute. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I had a brother asking me, he's a new brother. He just kind of found out about Imam Mahdi, and he was asking me about, how do we know that he is the Mahdi? I was trying to explain that, it really does take taking the time to read the statements, because he does give a lot of proof and evidence based on the Quran, and it's hard to give everyone, to give that to someone in a short conversation. But if you'd like to elaborate on the point you just made, I think it'd be very beneficial to the people watching.
Sure. Well, as far as I can tell, and everyone knows. I mean, especially in the Muslim world. I mean, we believe, let's say, we're having so many sects. Okay, so mainly the Shia and the Sunnah. These are the main two sects, let's say, like in Christianity, Catholic, and Protestant. So the same thing applies in Islam, and most of the followers believe in the coming of Al-Mahdi, which is a person supposed to bring peace and prosperity on the world, basically, exactly like the Christians believe and the Jewish. But here, the information basically that we see today, we hear everywhere, there is so many of people that they're claiming that they are the Mahdi. So how we distinguish, how we figure out the difference, or how could we make up our mind to follow the right Mahdi? So basically, for me personally, I find I've seen a lot of people claiming they're Mahdi, but I see no proof whatsoever for their claims. With Imam Nasser Mohamed Yemani, it's not only his statements that's coming from out, let's say, from what he thinks, or no, it's science. Science today, technology today, proves everything he's talking about, and it certifies basically what he's talking about. So if Imam al-Mahdi talks about Planet X today, Nibiru, etc., yeah, we have a lot of, well, as the brother earlier mentioned, or actually you mentioned that you heard 1980s NASA, well, somehow broadcasted the news, and then the news disappeared all of a sudden. Yeah, so technology or science allow us today to see so many things within the Quran, in the book of the Quran, that people before never understood. Today, Imam Mahdi comes and basically explains the Quran in a way for the scientists, whatever field he is. Let's say he's in let's say physician and medicine and science, such as mathematician, technologist, what have you. He would understand better the proof, the ayah that came in the Quran, rather than someone else that didn't study that specific field. So basically, people can see today the Imam al-Mahdi is coming and he's telling us the statements from the Quran, justified also by the science, but people still denies it. Reason for denying the personality of Imam Mahdi, Nasser Muhammad al-Yemani, is just because there's a prejudgment or something, their set of mind that they just don't want to be elected by God, the Supreme, that He elects His people. He chooses to whom He gives, the convey such information, such very, very precious information, I would call it. No, we want, as the people, most of the people, want to elect their leader. But we cannot ignore that the kingdom, the whole earth, the whole universe, the king is God. And he chooses whoever he wishes to guide the people to the straight path.
Yeah.
Yes, so
thank you, brother.
Basically what I'm saying, Imam al-Mahdi is really supported by big evidence from the scientific community, from all these searches that we see today. You could search, either we're talking about Hello Earth, we're talking about Planet X, we're talking about a lot of stuff that Imam Mahdi has mentioned. There's so much evidence supporting what he's saying, as well as what he's saying is not from himself, it's from the Quran. So the only book that was never tampered with, never touched for more than 1400 years. And it is a book that you got the Torah in, you got the Gospel in, you got everything in there with no man tampering it.
Yeah. And so people need to understand, right, that he's really supported by a great deal of evidence, but you need to listen to him, you know, before you can understand that, all right? I mean, when the caller to truth comes to you, you listen to him first before you say that he's truthful or he's not truthful, right? You can't prove that he's telling the truth.
True, brother.
Yeah.
The Imam himself, salam, is not forcing anyone to believe him. He wants you to use your brain and decide for yourself. Just decide for yourself. These is the statements are available online on the forum of the Imam alayhi salam. But it's your choice whether you're convinced. If you use your mind to compare basically or verify what he's saying, and this is what anyone's supposed to do: verify it and see really if it makes sense or not. But no, the Imam is not forcing no one to believe him before using his mind. That's correct.
So how did you get that process? You know, how did you discover the truth?
Personally, I was on a big hunt for the truth. I've been listening to, coast to coast for a few years, talking about aliens and this and that and different theory. I also was fascinated by the fact that in the beginning, the UFOs and aliens and what the heck is. I mean, I was wondering what did it come from? How is it possible? This is extraterrestrials, etc. But a day I came to the forum where I found out more than I expected. A lot of details about, the Earth and who lives in there, and so much of the information that I could tell you. I went through also what you call the high jump operation, if you heard of, which is Richard Byrd.
Yeah, Operation High Jump.
Got in there, and he wrote something I think was recently published from his family. I mean, things adds up. So I used to believe in not believe, but I almost got convinced about this flat Earth theory. Before getting to the Imam website, there's a lot of things going on there, a lot of misleading information that basically is trying to take people away from the straight path. And I thank God, alhamdulillah, that I came to the right place, and I'm so certain I do believe and I do trust in God, and therefore I was guided to the forum of the Imam.
Alhamdulillah, bro.
With the message that he supports his last prophet, Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And he's a supporter of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's Nasser Muhammad, is the name. So proof, basically, logic. That's how I made my mind. That plus every let's say, couple of weeks or so, you get a new statement that supports more. It gives more evidence in different subjects other than what I used to follow, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, bro. I'm gonna go for a quick musical break, and then inshallah, I've got another guest that we're gonna speak to. So thanks for your time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye, brother.
All right. Bye. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So gonna go on a break for like 5 minutes now. Stay tuned because we have a new guest on after the break, who is just heard about the call of the Mahdi, and we're gonna speak to him and see if he has any questions for us. So stay tuned. So assalamu alaikum guys, we're back from the short break. You know, alhamdulillah, I'm here with brother Amadou Sal. You know, he's a new brother. He saw the last show, and you know, I've been trying to talk to him about the call of the Mahdi and see, you know, and alhamdulillah, he's a very open-minded guy, and he's kind of trying to understand the truth. So I thought, you know, I'd call him and call Ibn Omar. So you know, welcome them both and
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, good to see all of you. أسعد الله مساءكم إن شاء الله برضوانه وقربه ونعيم رضوان نفسه. Yes, go ahead, brother.
All right. My main questions were, what were the key points about the end days? The key points we should all mostly be focusing on.
Yeah, key points on the end days. Okay, if you allow me, brother, look, normally the topic of tonight in the room, you know, on the channel, is
to preppers worldwide. And the question is, now wait a minute, I'm going to come back to your question. So the question is, are you sure you are preparing for the right events to come? Okay?
Of course. I come from a background who came from nothing.
We are,
you know how to use the best of anything.
we all came from nothing, and so don't worry, that's not a problem. We all came from nothing with nothing, and it is the grace of Allah that keeps us going. So what I mean, with this, I got your question. You want to know about the key points of Judgment Day, of the end times. So I would like to include that within the answer to a long question, which is, to the preppers, are you preparing for the right events to come? Because, when we speak about the events to come in itself, we're going to mention the key points of the end times, or the Judgment Day, okay?
All right.
So, inshallah, I hope and I'm sure you're going to get your answer, within...
I have plenty of questions, man, but I don't think I have...
So, do you agree on that, or would you like to just stick to the answer for that question that you just asked?
Yeah, I think in answering I think you'll do both, Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Anyway, to try now to go to answer that question, for the preppers, okay? Will it be the grid that's going to get down, or would it be preparation for the nuclear contamination, or for a nuclear war, World War III? Or do we have, could we please have less background noise there, because some background... So the preparation, would it be, for the food scarcity that we are going to be faced with? Or do we have to prepare ourselves for plagues that are most probably going to take place soon, in the soon future? Or is it that we have to prepare ourselves for the sea level rise all over the planet? And so on and so on. Now, the answer to that would be, it depends on the kind of knowledge you do have in order to make the appropriate preparation for what's to come. And I would add, without the right knowledge, your preparation would be always lacking something, okay? So when I look, for instance, on the internet, on YouTube, I see many videos of people speaking about preparing for the future, for events that are to come. But I always notice that they lack something, or that they are rather focused.
They forget about some information, or they're just preparing for a certain situation.
Yeah, exactly. Most of them are more preparing, for a specific situation.
Some of them are not awoke. Some of them are out there preparing for zombie apocalypses and whatnot.
Yeah, well, some of them are, yeah. So, in order to be properly prepared, I think someone needs to have the right knowledge in order to do that. And without having this right knowledge, the preparation will be always lacking something, okay? So where does this knowledge comes from? So for us, supporters of the awaited Imam Mahdi, it is the knowledge that was brought by our Imam, the peace and blessing be upon him, which was an eye-opener for all of us. And we can for sure say, Alhamdulillah, that we have a global idea, a general idea of what's to come in the soon future, so that the preparation would be the right way, And that, there is an English saying, they say, there is only one way to do things. Okay, and what is this way? Well, that's the right way. I mean, you can do things in different ways, but there is always one way to do things, and that's the right way. And I mean, with this, if you want to prepare, if you want to save yourself and your loved ones from what's coming ahead, because like Brother Idris was saying, in the beginning of this streaming, anyone who looks around him, he will surely see that there is something going on. The life today we are living in is not the same as it used to be 5 or 10 years ago. So there are a lot of changes taking place, many movements on all the levels, on the social level, on the geopolitical level, the weather also, the weather patterns on this planet. And therefore, with the least observation, we realize that there is something going on, and it seems that by the day, these events are speeding up. Therefore, the need, many people feel the urge to start preparing. But again, as I said, most of those people, when I look at them, that's the only thing I do. I look what the people are saying, what they are preparing for. Some of the people, they say they are preparing for Planet X, for the coming of the crossing, But if you ask them, is there anything that will take place before the crossing itself as a precursor? No, they say, no, we just wait, and even that, the best of the preppers are the ones who take the Planet X, the crossing, into consideration. That's it. But if you ask them, what about the great deception that's going to come, immediately with the crossing? What are you preparing for the return of the Anunnaki? They say, what are you talking about? What return? What are the Anunnakis? So if you're going to ask them, what did you prepare for the first resurrection of the people who are going to be raised from the grave? They will say, what are you talking about? They don't know about that.
Yeah.
You're going to ask them.
I just recently learned from Brother Idris.
Yeah. Then, when you look at them, the way that they are trying to prepare, they are preparing weapons and sticks, to go into a fight. Even though some of the battles that are coming, you won't need any guns, because our guns that we have, the most sophisticated guns and weapons that we have on this planet, won't match the weapons that those who are going to come to visit us have in their possession. So, again, now let me go back to reiterate to what I just started. The knowledge is very important. There are two factors. Well, the right knowledge, to have the right knowledge for this, and also immediately to repent and to have the divine contact, so that knowledge that you're going to try to acquire will land in your heart that you can understand it, that you can use it. So the divine permission is a must, is a necessity, because those who don't have that connection with the divine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of this universe, they might look into that knowledge, but all what they're going to see, they're going to see letters written on a paper or you know, on a sheet on the internet, and soon after that they will forget it. Why? Because there is no benediction, there is no light, no divine permission from Allah for those people looking into that information to comprehend it, you know, to assimilate it in their beings, because this is a very important point. Okay, so I hope, you know, I'm not going too quickly, you know, but back to you.
Yeah, we're following you, bro.
Would you like to comment, to add something to what I just said?
I'll continue.
Okay, now, if I am allowed to continue, you know, from what we have learned from our beloved Imam, peace and blessing be upon him, Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani, there is numerous events that are going to take place, which are in relation to what we call Judgment Day or the end times events. And actually, awaited Mahdi, Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani, has explained to us and shown us, and he provided the proof from the Holy Quran, which is the last revelation that was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sovereign creator of this universe, to his last messenger, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. So all what our Imam has shared with us, it's supported and, as I said, by the Holy Quran itself. Otherwise, he won't share that information with the rest of the world. So what he basically said, that we human beings on this planet, we have already entered the phase of the so-called Judgment Day. Because, you know, most of the people, when you speak about Judgment Day of end times, they think it's a day like we count ourselves on this earth, 24 hours. But when the Almighty Creator, subhanahu wa ta'ala, mentions the Judgment Day, a day by the Lord equals thousands years of what we count on this earth, on this planet. So actually it's a phase, it's a long period of time which started on April 2005. Already at that time, the awaited Mahdi, Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani, has warned us that there are gonna be great events that will take place, you know, and they will start, you know, slowly, and then they will increase in intensity, in frequency, the more that we advance in time, till we reach the event, which is basically the main event, which is the event of the crossing of a celestial body called Sijil or Saqar in the Holy Quran, known to the people in the West as planet Nibiru. And he already said this announcement of that we have entered in this final phase called the Judgment Day is caused by the approaching of this celestial body. So when it came, you know, at a certain proximity in our solar system, it already impacted the smaller celestial body in our solar system, like our moon, and which started at that time already with a phenomena called the sun preceded the moon, meaning that the orbit of the moon was disrupted largely and noticeably, and that started in April 2005 and kept repeating itself, each lunar cycle, and it became today very, very evident. Anyway, so for the preppers worldwide, in order for them to prepare properly for what's to come, you cannot prepare only for a nuclear war that will take place, because many people are looking at the signs and the preparations. In the Middle East, we see forces from Russia, from different parts, other parts of the world, are already gathering in that part of the world. And many people have their hands on their hearts. They say, well, we believe that this World War III, where nuclear weapons are going to be used, is very imminent, okay? And from the other hand, other people say, well, we have witnessed two suns in our sky. And I mean, if you look on the YouTube, you're going to see many people from different parts of the world coming up with videos, real footage, showing two suns in our sky.
In those.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah, say it.
Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Continue.
What did you say?
I was bringing up the fact that I've seen those videos that he's speaking about.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so those people who have seen that, they said, oh yeah, there's something wrong. Why is NASA not telling us this? And on the other hand, you have
some people word they tell you.
Yeah, and then at the same time, you have other people who are saying, well, it seems that the real rulers of this world, they are hiding this fact. They are even spraying chemtrails in order for us not to see what's happening in our skies, So it seems that there is an agenda, to hide the truth from the people, and so that this will make people even more confused, because whenever you try to bring up this point to the people and warn them that there is something, an evil agenda taking place, they will say, this is a conspiracy. You are a conspiracy nut, because that's the answer, because you don't have any proof, they would say, But those who are trying, to bring the message, they say, no, please believe us. We have our evidence and this and this. But still now, where does it bring us into in the preparation, for what's to come? So that's still only speaking about one element. That's speaking about planet Nibiru, the crossing, okay? But actually, that's not the only thing that will happen, even though that's the major phenomena which have got a lot of ramifications, as I said, because the crossing itself is the key to the world events, has got the key to these end time events that are going to take place, okay? So when you see the event of the crossing, that means that we'll have the return of the Anunnaki. That means these are, they call them in the West the Anunnaki, based on the study of Zachariah Sitchin, his work, because he worked, even though, we can go on speaking about who is Zachariah Sitchin and his work, what he has done and that. But anyway, in order not to lose our focus on this discussion, the event of the crossing will bring with it the return of a non-human being, that they have an agenda, a deceptive agenda to deceive the people, okay? And so how is this deception known also in the West to the Christian people, the Anglo-Saxon, or even in Europe, known as the Great Deception? But whenever you ask those people, what is this great deception? I mean, if you ask any Christian scholar, and I never heard or seen any priest of a man of a church explaining clearly what is this great deception. They say there is a great deception coming, you know.
Don't know anything. You can't expect them to answer any of your questions.
Please, go ahead.
I'm saying the Christians do not know anything. You cannot expect them to answer any of your questions.
Yeah, I am sorry, you know, no, they've been misled, you know, they've been misled, lied to, yeah. So anyway, even though this is a very important aspect that is going to come, which is a great aspect of the events of end times, okay? So how do you expect people to prepare themselves when the religious leaders of this Christian world, the Western world, or the European world, they don't even have the answer to what is this great deception that the Holy Book, they call it the Holy Book, is speaking about. They have no idea who is going to perform this great deception. They don't know, you know. And so if you want to give them a clue about it, you say, could it be that the Antichrist will perform this great deception? Oh yeah, it's possible. They said the Antichrist will deceive the people. But how is he going to do that? And who is this Antichrist? And where is he? You know, well, they say it's going to be a human being that's going to be possessed by Satan and all that. Well, the truth, that's completely false. Because if we look into the knowledge of the awaited Mahdi, Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani, peace and blessing be upon him, he has explained to us that the Antichrist, the Dajjal, is going to be the Satan, Iblis himself. And he is the head of the Anunnaki, known to the Christian world in the West and in Europe as the fallen angels. So he's the leader of the rebellion. And we know where he is hiding, you know, according to the knowledge of the awaited Mahdi, Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani, who shared with the rest of the world that it is Satan, it is Iblis, the head of the rebellion, and he is hiding in the whole earth. And so many people, when they hear you speak about the whole earth, they say this guy is nuts. What is he talking about? Our earth is hollow, you know. And this explains to you also why the enemies of the truth came up with this new theory, which they are trying to spread on the internet, claiming that the earth is flat. Well, the truth, it is not flat at all, because that's another deviation. The purpose of this flat earth theory is to put the focus of the people from the reality and the truth that the earth is hollow, that the great deception of end time is going to come out of that hollow earth, which is indeed the location of the Garden of Eden, where the Creator Subhanahu wa Ta'ala Almighty has created the first human being. And we know all the story. We don't go into the details of the story, otherwise it'll take us, lead us away from, the main focus of the topic. So getting back, for the preparation, how can you tell me that you are going to be properly prepared if you don't know this? I mean, if you prepare only, if you stock on the food, on water, on weapon, because that's going to be riots. So when are these riots coming? And even despite the fact that people have seen pictures and videos of FEMA camps, I even saw some videos where they flew with a glider over the FEMA camps and they took real footage, image, of the FEMA camps. And despite that, many people, they say, no, that could not possibly be FEMA camps that they are preparing. Many people saw the trains where they brought these plastic coffins, millions of them. They bought them from
I've
China.
seen that too. The disposable coffins.
Exactly. And they saw even guillotines that were imported from China.
I know there's
Yeah.
millions reported that they've seen thousands of guillotines from the U.S. Army and whatnot.
Exactly. The reaction was, how could possibly our government do that to us, you know? So, in order to
take it into consideration.
Yeah, in order, you know, to separate the grain from the chaff, without the knowledge that was brought by the awaited Imam Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, people won't have the weapon or the tool, the means in order to decide for themselves whether what they see belongs to a hoax or is it the true information that they have to take in consideration. Okay, so in general speaking, and there is a lot more to this because it's not only those events that I just mentioned, there is even more to that. The restriction of the globe, the rise of new continents, the disappearance of parts of the existing continents, the rise of the sea level, that's also part of it. The nuclear contamination that's going to take place after the asteroid and meteorite shower, after the crossing, which are going to be carried in the tail of this celestial body called planet Nibiru, and it will rain on Earth all over the place. So how the cataclysm, is it going to be global or only part of the world? This is all has been mentioned in the knowledge of the awaited Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, and which parts of the world are going to see the greater destruction, you know, compared to other parts of the world. So I hope that this gave a little idea and insight on these end days events, and I hope that at least it had answered your question, brother, partly, if not.
Thank you, brother.
No problem. You're welcome, brother.
Yeah, that was a good answer. So, I mean, in regards to preppers, I mean, as I said, you know, I believe that preppers need to take on a more spiritual, you know, kind of understand the spiritual importance of, you know, obeying Allah and having trust in Allah. But for us that are not preppers, brother, what can we start to do to kind of become preppers and prep in the right way, you know, for the food, but also, you know, in terms of being ready and connected to Allah so that He will protect us in times to come?
Yeah, for sure. It's a good question, brother. Jazakallah khair. You know, I keep repeating always, you know, the good connection with the Almighty Creator of this universe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will provide for you the right answer at the right time, you know. But those who do have a relation that they cannot trust with the Creator for a reason or another, and actually there is no reason because the Creator loves you more than you love, you know, than you think or that you believe. So some of the people, you know, who have that firm belief and a good connection with the divine Creator, they will follow their intuition and what was revealed to them by the Almighty Creator, because we are speaking here about the living God, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sustainer of everything. And He sees all of us, and actually the divine phone is ringing 24 hours a day, except that the people won't answer, you know, because the people are too busy with other things in order to respond to the divine telephone that's calling them, you know. And so whenever the relation becomes stronger with the divine Creator, then you will be always ready to answer the phone, you know.
Sorry, say that again, bro.
They are to their Creator.
Say
So
that
the
again.
problem is that they're too attached to this world more than their creator.
Exactly.
They need to realize
Yeah.
that only Allah can see you without your human body. He knows you without your human body.
Yeah, correct, brother. Exactly. He knows everything. يعلم السر وأخفى. He knows the secret and even what's beyond the secrets. You know, ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. Doesn't he know everything about us while he is the creator who created us from nothing? You know, many people seem to dismiss these factors because, as I said, their relation with the creator is weak. You know, many people, they say, yeah, we are spiritual and all that, but they don't have this basic knowledge. And the only way for them to get this basic knowledge is to get it from the Holy Scripture, from the Holy Quran, which is the last revelation. You know, at the time when many people, you know, they have been misled from listening to the truth. You know, they don't even consider that the Holy Quran is a revelation from God, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They think they have the Bible and that's it, even though we do have the proof that the Bible was edited many times, you know, through the translation, that many...
Just the term Old Testament, New Testament should let you know that it's been edited.
Exactly, brother, yeah. That's one of the things, you know, and
I'm pretty sure 100% of these Christians think God and Allah are two different things.
Yeah, they are very different, okay? But I just used that term God in order to make it easy for the people, you know, who are not used to the word Allah.
Yeah.
But actually, he called himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah. Even the name Allah was used by Prophet Moses, peace and blessing, by all the prophets. Even by Isa ibn Maryam, Yeshua, the son of Virgin Mary. When he made his prayers, he was calling on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not on God. And so this word God is empty, does not have any meaning in it. The people that are using it, and even the name, you know, Jesus, that's a trap, because that's not the real name of the Messiah, peace and blessing be upon him. And you know, we spoke previously about the sign of the beast, which we said it is going to be the sign of the crossing, which is going to be the Roman Catholic sign of the cross that they hung on themselves. This is going to be imposed on all the people, especially in the West. Without that sign, you won't be able to get access to medical care. You won't be able to buy and to sell, especially in the West, you know, depending on the location where you are.
I'm in the United States.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's the worst case, you know, Canada, United States, and Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. What can we say? The only thing we say, please don't despair. There is always, if you, you know, grasp Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you grasp or, you know, hold and correct your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wherever you are on this planet, the sovereign Lord of the creation have got always the power and the support to help you wherever you are, you know. So no one should despair from the help of Allah when he needs it, you know, at condition that, as I said, we have to correct our relation with them and to repent, you know, before it is too late. Anyway, I hope I said enough for the time being. I yield the mic back to you, Brother Idris, and to Brother Amadou. You take the discussion from me for a while, and then we'll listen and get back to you.
All right, thank you for joining us, man.
No problem.
So, how do you feel about the information, the answers he gave you?
Yeah, I retained a lot of information he spoke to us.
Pardon?
I retained a lot of information.
Yeah.
Great speaker, man.
Yeah, man. And so right now, as it stands, what do you think of Nasser Mohamed Al Yemeni?
I'm still looking into it.
Okay.
I'm starting to see more and more every day.
Alhamdulillah.
Awesome.
Good answer, brother.
Thank you. And I have one piece of advice for everybody. Try to always be Allah conscious before you do anything. Think of what Allah would say about it all the time.
Could you repeat that, brother, because it did not come in clearly?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I have one piece of advice for anybody watching.
Yeah.
Try to always be Allah conscious.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, with everything you do, man. And
yeah.
I think that's some great advice. I pray Allah inshallah guides you and all of us into, a place and actions that please Him. But the more you read, and my experience was the more that I read and the more that I listened to the Mahdi, I as you said, every day, it became more clear to me that, he was truthful and that this information was valuable, and so, as a supporter, my advice to everyone is just to do that, exactly what the brother is doing right now, exactly what all of us have done, is to listen to the information that he gives us and put it to use.
You know, brother, there is many people. We don't have to go into details in this, but many people underestimate the value of the awaited Mahdi. And they would say, for instance, I heard many even Muslim people say, well, it's not so important that you believe in what Imam Mahdi is saying, or that you're going to support him, because basically that does not change anything. But when I looked into it, I found that the knowledge that Imam Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, has brought to us is so vital. It's a critical moment in life, and without that knowledge, people are not going to be able to distinguish between the real Messiah, peace and blessing be upon him, and between the false one who is going to appear and claim that he is the Messiah, and he's been planning for this now for generation, and people who don't listen to what the awaited Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, has brought as knowledge from the Holy Quran, even though they might be good Muslim and they go to the mosque and they pray and they read the Quran, but the classical understanding of the Holy Quran was shown on many occasions. All those interpretations of many scholars during the recent centuries, they are completely wrong, sometimes laughable, So the real person with the right knowledge, who came to give a very logic explanation and interpretation of the verses of the Holy Quran, is without a doubt the awaited Imam Mahdi Nasser Mohamed Al Yemani. If you look into his interpretations of the verses of the Holy Quran, you'll be amazed. You say, could it be really that there is a man living among us who have all this knowledge, this wealth of knowledge that he's trying to share with us? I will give you for it just one example, in order to explain myself. Once was a few years ago, I went into a room on Paltalk, and I found a guy who's gathering a lot of Christian around him, and they want to make fun about the Muslim people. They were bringing the topic of Zulqarnain, the two horns mentioned in the Holy Quran, and the story how he went from the sunrise to the sunset, and he found that the sun was setting in a murky pool, and they were laughing, ha 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 ha. You look at the Muslim, they believe that the sun is setting in a murky pool, and because the interpretation, the classic interpretation provided even by the ministry, the cultural ministry in Saudi Arabia, is completely wrong. It's laughable. And they thought it is the sun set in the west. It is the west that we see on the surface of the earth. Except when Imam Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, came with his knowledge, he explained that the journey of Zulqarnain, the two horns, was taking place in the whole earth. And that the whole earth means that earth has got two polar gates, two polar entrances, one at the North Pole and one at the South Pole. And that the inside of the earth was like a tunnel. And so the journey of Zulqarnain, peace and blessing be upon him, was inside that whole earth. And the sunrise and sunset, he was speaking, the Holy Quran was speaking of the sun rising on the northern polar gate for 6 months, and as soon as the earth reaches the equinox of the autumn, the 21st of September, then we'll have the South Pole going into the polar darkness. No, the North Pole goes into the polar darkness in the polar night, and the South Pole will be exposed for 6 months to the sun, allowing the penetration of the sun rays through the southern polar gate. And so that's why these are the two rise points and the two set points, because as soon as the earth reaches the equinox of the spring, once again, then we do have the South Pole getting into the polar night, and then the northern polar gate will be exposed to the sun. You see, and so this is basically a scientific reality, that they are hiding from the people. And many people, they are taught at schools, at university, that our earth has got a magma core made of iron, that it is a lava, and that's basically that. They don't want them to know the truth, that the earth is hollow, that it is teeming with life, that it has got at least 200 species of non-human beings, and even including some of the human beings who are living in the whole earth itself. So, as I said, this is really an ocean of knowledge, which is very deep, and people need time, in order to read it. And another point, which is very, very important, we have a hadith, a saying from our beloved Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him. He said, among the signs of end days, the sun will rise from the west. And at that time, when the sun has risen from the west, any human soul who did not gain any knowledge and to make her believe, won't be able to gain that knowledge and that belief after the event of the sun rising from the west. And that's very understandable if you learn and you take a look at the knowledge of the awaited Imam Mahdi, because after the crossing, the events are going to be so quick, and things are going to change tremendously. Life won't be the same as we know it now, okay? So people won't have the time to learn and to put their knowledge into practice, because after the crossing, it's going to be whether you have the knowledge and whether you don't, okay? Those who have this knowledge, they will be able to survive they will be able to save themselves and their loved ones. Those who don't have this knowledge that was brought by the awaited Mahdi Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani are in trouble, are in big trouble. Okay, over to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And, I think partially one of the reasons behind that is obviously the Imam Mahdi is using the internet right now to kind of communicate with a larger number of people. But, once the crossing happens and the EMP, takes out our electronic grid, you won't be able to access the internet. And right now anyone in the world can read his statements and find out all of this information. But once that is down, no one can do that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, this is a matter, as you just mentioned it, for instance, the EMP, electromagnetic pulse, that will be a phenomena that will be as a precursor even to the event of the crossing. Because the last breaking news that was given by the awaited Mahdi, he said it seems that these two phenomena that usually accompany the event of the crossing, which is the barren wind from one side and then the EMP, these are two phenomena that are accompanying, they come with, with the event of the crossing. It seems that Allah will make them even happen earlier to the previous time of the event itself, because due to how stubborn the human beings are getting, and he was saying, awaited Imam Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, he said, if we go back to his statement, he said, I am amazed at the fact how people of this generation and their leaders who are with them, they do have hearts that are incapable of comprehending the divine truth. Is it so that they have to go through the severe punishment of Allah in order for them to understand, And then, I mean, it's a lot longer than that, but this was just a short part of that. So, the EMP, which will bring down the grid, which will bring our communication and satellites down, And one last, remark I would like to add, observation in this concern. Preppers, they will ask you, but it depends where I am. For sure. I mean, your position on the globe is very important. And that's why when people, they ask always, I used to go to chat rooms and all that, they ask me, which is the safe place to be, I said, I cannot tell you that. You'd have to figure that by yourself, because if once you have the knowledge of Imam Mahdi, then you can put that knowledge into practice. Then you will find out by yourself exactly what to do, where to be, how to stock or not to stock, because stocking on food is a must for certain people. Leaving the country where you are is not necessarily the same for everyone, So people have to decide that by themselves. So therefore, the awaited Imam Mahdi gives them the most important key to that is, who is your creator? Why did he create us? To worship him. And worship him meaning is not to go bow down and ruku and sujood, because the meaning of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam means to know him, to know that he is the most gracious, to know that he loves us more than our mothers, to know that knowing Allah, that's worshiping him. Then immediately when you comprehend those facts, then the only thing you will do is to bow to that creator and to thank him, So that's the meaning of worship. And so they waited. Imam Mahdi came to teach us all those things. Who is the bliss, and to explain to us the great name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the bliss and the satisfaction that any believer will resent in himself, to the point that they will live in a situation, in a nirvana situation, meaning, how can I express that? Once you listen to what Imam Mahdi tried to explain, that bliss that you resent, is more valuable than any physical or material wealth that someone can have joy of, Anyway, I think I said enough, brother, and I yield the mic back to you, Brother Idris, and to Brother Amadou. Maybe you go on for another 5 minutes. That will give me time to take a small rest here.
You deserve
Afwan.
What?
Would you like to go into a musical break, Brother Idris, and then we see then afterward how we're gonna carry on?
Yeah, I was thinking of going into musical break and then, if we have nothing else to say, maybe end the show. But yeah, I'll start the musical break now, inshallah.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, guys. Guys, we're back. I was just wondering, someone asked in the comments, what are you asking about exactly? So I mean, what do you mean? What part were you asking that question? If you can just put it in the comments, and if you'd like us to continue, just anything, just you want us to talk about, just say it in the comments, and we'll carry on.
Or it is open line for anyone who would like to come in and to ask, to add a comment, please do.
Yeah, the number is on the screen now, so. But yeah, very interesting topic, man. I'm thinking that, hopefully me as a new prepper, and any preppers that are experienced can kind of benefit from today. And it's interesting that you said that the person should kind of look at their own location, because for me, just from the knowledge I have from the Mahdi, I've already been able to kind of start looking at locations that would be maybe easier to live in, in the world, based on certain information.
Yeah, for sure, brother, for sure. Well, if you allow me, from my personal perspective, my own personal perspective, I think knowing that this is gonna a temporary phase, the crossing itself and all what's coming. So I believe that it is better for someone not to engage himself in a lot of expenses, just try maybe to figure out something that's temporary till things are easing down, till we have this challenging event that's over. Then you can figure out which is the best way to continue after that. But you see, people who will take a very serious decision before the event, later on they might regret that they have engaged themselves in such a serious situation. So, personally, I believe the best way is to take just the temporary measures. And of course, we go back to the knowledge. As I said, it's a necessity. Without that knowledge, and I even made some videos, saying to the people, look, people, preppers, even though you have prepared yourself the right way, but you're gonna survive the crossing. Without this knowledge that we are talking about, you would wish that you did not survive the crossing, and that's shocking to many people. They say, how dare you say that we wish? Well, because if you are not prepared for the crossing, or what's coming after the crossing, especially the great deception, after the crossing, people will come out of their bunkers, of their hiding places, and they will find that life is completely different to what they expect, and they will find new players on the scene whom they never expected. the performance of this great deception. And even though, in our talk, because I was trying to answer the brother, Amadou, who was with us, I did not even had the time, the space in my mind to mention, is it a good thing, those who are going to hide into bunkers underground? Because we all know that the elites of the societies, whether is it in the United States, in Europe, in China, in Russia, in Australia, we do have the evidence that they built themselves underground bunkers and they filled it with food. And not only that, when we go to the food, they try to prepare stocks of food so that when their god, Lucifer, their god, Harut, will come out, will appear, they will provide him with that food in order, to say to the people, I'm going to give you this food if you're going to worship me. That's one part of his deception,
Oh yeah, you're talking about that big seed vault in
Exactly.
Geneva or something. Yeah.
Yeah, in Norway, yeah. They have one big one in Norway, seed vault, and there is another one in Greenland. In Greenland, that's also in the north, nearby Alaska, further from Norway. Anyway, and as I said, they are preparing because they have got knowledge that something big is coming, and they're preparing themselves for that. But will those underground cities provide them really a shelter, or is that, because the people who won't have access to that, they will think, this is not fair, how dare they go in their underground cities, leaving us on the surface, open to the asteroids and to the comets and all this.
Yeah.
And this will bring us back to the topic. The Creator is not unjust. The Creator is just. The Creator will take care of the believers at the condition that they respect the covenant that they make with their Creator,
Yeah.
Brother, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think the uncertainty, that people will have if they don't have this information, like you said, it's underestimated the value because, for example, the whole aspect of the aliens, and the motives of creating a state, a great, the state of Dajjal of Israel, from the North Pole to the South Pole. Suddenly, you think you're prepared, and I'm not even talking about the elite, the Luciferians, just the average person who prepares and collects maybe a year of food and has a bunker. As soon as he prepares and he comes out, now you have a situation that you never would have anticipated, of an alien species, a species of jinn hybrids that are basically trying to rule the world, and controlling all of the resources, and you can't prepare from that.
Yeah, for sure. But there is always a way. I mean, we see that the way that Imam Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, knows the way how to prepare, and he has got the information, how to escape their deception and how to counterattack whatever plan that they want to execute, to perform against humanity. Okay? And this is in itself a very long topic, and that's why we said you have to initiate yourself as soon as possible and to get habituated, to get used to this knowledge that the way that Mahdi has brought with him, because it's very important. Without it, people will have less chance to survive and to make it through. If I look today on the internet, on YouTube, I see thousands of people waiting for the ascension, that the Pleiadian, the Ashtar command is going to come and, take these people to to the light, to another dimension. People are very excited about it, and they don't know that this is part of the deception in itself, because as I said on previous videos, they're gonna play different groups, these non-human beings, these hybrids. Some of them, they're gonna say, we are the Pleiadians, they will come with their spaceships. Some of them, they say, we are the Lumerian. The other ones, they say, well, they will give themselves different names.
Yeah, and they say they're from different parts of the galaxy, right?
Exactly. They will say that they are from different parts of the galaxy. We are here to save you. So what will happen, you will see the human being running from a certain group of alien to fall into the trap of another group, because they do have basically the same agenda, okay? And, many of the people on the alien forums, and they said to me, are you claiming that all the aliens are bad? I said, I'm not claiming that. No. I said, you understood me.
I am. Are they not?
No, I said there are good alien beings, but I said the good ones, they will never want to interfere with the human affairs. They keep their distance, and they're watching from far away, okay? Because the creation of God is bigger than what we can imagine. It's beyond our imagination. So there are angelic beings, even the angels themselves, they will only intervene within the limits of the permission that the divine creator has given to them. There is a certain limit they cannot go beyond, except we are seeing that these fallen angels with the hybrids, they will claim they have everything, like their master, Lucifer, Harut, will claim that he is the owner of Planet X, which is hellfire in itself, as explained by Awaited Mahdi. He will claim that he has got Garden of Eden, the paradise, well, we know it's not his Garden of Eden. Many people, when they see that there is destruction, everything is lost, life becomes impossible on the surface of the earth after the event of the crossing, due to the asteroids and the comets that are going to fall, destroying all the power plants, and the nuclear radiation contamination will become all over the place. People will wish they will, find another way how to get out of it. And then they see these spacecraft landing at each corner of the street, where from comes out very handsome, beautiful men and women, and they will bring with them also exotic fruits and exotic birds and animals, and they look very attractive, handsome, because they have been brought up in the Garden of Eden, where there is no pollution there. They live only on fruit. And the Awaited Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him, Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani, has explained that in the whole earth, the size of one grape, is enough for a human being to eat for a few days. You have granite apples that are huge, enough for a human being to eat for a few weeks. Just one piece of fruit. And these beings, who are the daughters of Satan, these hybrids that will come, they will claim that they are al-huriyat, the virgins from the Garden of Eden, while the truth, we know that they are not that virgin as they claim to be, And so, as I said, people who don't know this knowledge that was brought by the Awaited Mahdi, Nasser Mohamed al-Yemani, are going to be fooled. They will buy into this great deception. And there is no way to tell me that you are properly prepared without having this knowledge that is propagated by the Awaited Mahdi, who is sharing this for free, because we, the support, also are working on a volunteer base. We don't expect anybody to buy anything from us. We don't sell any books. We don't sell any, we just want the salvation for humanity. We want to go against the evil agenda and plan of Lucifer, Satan, Harut, the Antichrist. And we want to expose his agenda in order to save these people and to bring them back to their real creator who created them, who loves them, who wants all the best for them, And that is actually our mission as supporters of the awaited Mahdi, deriving from the purpose of our beloved awaited Mahdi, peace and blessing be upon him. Over to you, brother Idris.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's probably the most important, message that we can send with this, with this broadcast. I think, if it's okay with you, I think we've been going for long enough. I think it'd be okay to end it now.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, brother. Thank you very much for this evening and for the interesting show.
Yeah, man.
We get the chance, to do it again whenever you feel like.
Inshallah, Thank you for joining us. Your insight is always valued, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night, brother. Assalamu
Okay, good night. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. May God bless and stay prepped.